Okay, so tonight we're going to look at this create and connect to a MySQL database. So using Amazon RDS. So basically, if you go into this tutorial here, it basically sort of says you learn how to create an environment to run your MySQL database. We call this environment an instance. Connect to the database and delete the instance. Okay, so basically we need to create instance. So in this step, you'll use Amazon AWS to create MySQL DB instance. Okay, so open Management Console, select database from the left navigation pane and choose RDS. So I just have it preloaded here. So if I go into RDS here, you can see this is basically the Amazon RDS for Relation Database Service. So go down here, select RDS. Okay, so basically select the region that you want as always. Okay, go into create database here. So create database. Let's see, create database here. So what do we want to create? So you have to select, you have options to select for this tutorial, MySQL, standard MySQL, yep. So standard MySQL, okay. Here it says MySQL community, which is there, which is the free type. MySQL engine. Here we'll just leave it at this for the moment. It looks fine. Templates free tier. Templates looks like a free tier here. Here. So you need to set some settings. So you need to basically give it DB instance identifier here. So you need to give it a DB instance identifier for logging in. We need to give it a master username and master password and confirm the password. So here I'm just going to basically sort of say something like, I take this master password here, put this in here, and then for the master password, all I'm going to do is basically just use the same. I'm just going to reuse this. Again, everything that we kind of do here is all just about learning the actual service and getting the service up and running as quickly as possible. Never do this in a real production environment, but it's just always just practice. Instance configuration, burstable classes. Let's see if we have something there. We do. We have something here. So we're going to just db t2 micro. We're on a 3 micro, d2 micro. Looks like we can just pick that. Burstable classes was already selected, d2. dbt2 micro, which looks exactly the same. You can read about what these basically are. Storage, general purpose, SSD, allocated storage, general storage, SSD. Looks like we're leaving the defaults. Enable storage auto scaling. Says this option does not need to apply to this tutorial, so we'll just leave it for the moment. Okay. You're now in connectivity section where you provide information about RDS needs to launch your DB instance. Okay, compute connectivity. So this is kind of interesting here. Connectivity. So here what we're going to sort of say is it says you are now in the connectivity section where you provide information about RDS needs to launch your MySQL database. So compute. It says choose don't connect to an EC2 compute resource. So don't connect, which we did. Well, it's default, but Virtual private cloud, we're going to choose the default, which is already selected. The DB subgroup, just choose the default, which is fine. Public access here. Public access, yes. Why are we making? So we're choosing public accessibility. Choose yes. This will allocate an IP for your database instance so you can directly connect to the database from your own device. So just make sure that we select yes here. And always just have a look here, you know, so to see this public access, you can actually go into the explanation here. Amazon do a really, really good job on making sure that that information is beside there. VPC, select new VPC, security group, create new one, create new, again, you know, just what name did they put here, into new security name, availability zone, you can choose your availability zones, you can sort of see where I am actually here. One thing I want to kind of be sure of is that, you know, I'm in North Virginia here, so just make sure you're in your region. I'm normally in Europe, so I'll just leave it for the moment because I don't want to go back and recreate this again for a second. Should we enter a name here? Maybe you have to enter new security name. Let's just sort of call this something like test RDS database SG. Doesn't make a difference too much. Doesn't choose RDS proxy or anything like that. RDS supports several ways to communicate, to authenticate database users. Choose password authentication from the list of options. Authenticate using password. I'm going to actually choose this, and I'm telling you why. So it sort of says here, RDS supports several ways to authenticate database users. Choose password authentication from the list of options. I'm going to actually choose the second option, password and IAM database authentication. Authenticates using a database password and user credentials through IAM users and roles. I'm just going to choose that for a moment because I want to kind of play a little bit just with this later on. So here it says enable monitoring. Leave it unchecked to stay in the free tier. You know, make sure you just kind of always just this here, just read through database options, and let's just create database. Well, before we do that, it sort of says estimated monthly costs. The free tier is available to you for 12 months. Each calendar month, the free tier will allow you to use the RDS resources listed for free. That, which is what we're in, that, and 20 gig of automated backup storage. Okay, so let's just create. You can see here, it's creating database stat, suggested add-ons. You know, you could create a proxy for RDS proxy. We'll do that some other time. Create Elasticache cluster. We'll do that some other time. We'll do that some other time. But now, just while that's kind of creating, so if I kind of go up to database option and backups, you have everything about kind of, you know, your backup retention period, log exports, IAM role. So the following link service role will be used for publishing logs to CloudWatch logs, maintenance, deletion protection, you know, estimated, and click on your database is now being created. It could take several minutes for the new DB instance to become available. So you see when you're creating your actual database here in RDS, you have a huge amount of options. So you just have to make sure that you get the database correctly set up for yourself. So feel free to move on to the next step. So here is what I wanted to kind of just try out for 1 minute. So let's kind of just move on to this download an SQL client here. So in the download SQL client here, I've used this MySQL workbench previously in the past, and what you basically do is it's really good. It's a really good tool that basically just allows you to kind of connect out to the database and actually check your database, and then you basically have to kind of log in or sign up, and then it kind of shows you how to kind of use this tool to actually connect over to it. So that's really good way to do it. But I'd like to kind of do it a different way. So rather than kind of installing this, MySQL database workbench, what I wanted to kind of do was basically just run it from Python because I like to kind of keep my machine kind of clear. But you can look for kind of multiple, um, tutorials on how you can basically set up Python on your machine and connect to an RDS database from Python. This one definitely, it will help you set up, kind of show you how to set up the basics of the database, and then the actual security groups that you basically need to have. So it looks like you kind of need all of these ports. So I enabled those ports in my security group. That was kind of the first thing that I actually did. So I just kind of went into my MySQL database here in RDS. Went to security group here, and then in this security group, um, you just click into security group ID, and then you can sort of see all of your inbound rules. Now you can play around with these. I just kind of enabled a few rules so that I could actually access the MySQL database just for now. But because I'm also on Mac, um, I just kind of preferred Python on how to actually connect to the database just to see if it was actually connected. So it is actually connecting. So if I kind of just clear this here for a second and just kind of rerun this little script, so there's a little kind of script here that I just kind of put together, and the series I'll check it in with the kind of series notes or whatever. But basically, the little script does is basically just pulls back the actual databases. That's all I'm basically doing. So once I can actually sort of see the databases, I know that it's I know that I can actually connect to it. So if I kind of cat that script, you'll just sort of see that's the little kind of script there. So all I'm kind of doing here, connect over to your host. So the host is exactly, if I go back to my RDS here, one database instance running, go in here. You can see, the connectivity and security details here. So basically your host is just going to be your kind of your endpoint here, the same port 3306. This is the username and the password that I kind of specified just for simplicity. But that basically proves that this little kind of script here, using MySQL for Python, is connecting to the database. So tons and tons of tutorials about how to kind of set up Python and everything. I'm basically using kind of Python Python 3. So I'm using Python 3 on my Mac here. So then all I'm kind of doing is just, it's in double quotes here because, there's the spaces in the name. You wouldn't normally do this, but because I'm going to be checking in this script anyway, I thought I'd just kind of keep it as the kind of series name so that people can find the script easy and rename it to something. Just take the script and just rename it to something kind of easy, like test connection or something. But you can sort of see that, when I kind of run that, it's basically just bringing me back my databases. So that is RDS and MySQL databases.